My name is Michael Fair, and this is my personal review of No Shade in South Dakota, written by Andrea B. Nardi. When I first picked up this book, I felt like I was stepping into a time machine. Andrea clearly has a deep fascination with this time period, not only because of his family's connection to history, but also because of his personal interest in the late 1800s. His writing style has a way of pulling the reader directly into the past. The details are vivid. He doesn't just describe characters, their clothing, or the way they speak. He paints a full picture of the environment they live in. You feel the dust of the prairie, you hear the voices of settlers, and you imagine the silence of vast landscapes untouched by modern technology. While reading, I often found myself reflecting on how much our lives depend on technology today. This book reminds us how different life was back then. It transports you to a world you could never physically visit except through the pages of this story. That is one of the greatest strengths of Andrea's work. The novel is full of tension, strong character arcs, and meaningful conflict. Sheriff Colquitt, for example, is a character who stood out to me because of the way his story grows throughout the book. By the end, the novel comes to a satisfying conclusion. It left me hoping Andrea continues to write in this genre and maybe even develops this material into a feature film or a series. His writing has a rare authenticity that deserves to reach a wider audience. One passage late in the book really stuck with me. It describes the optimism people felt at the dawn of the new century, believing that technology would heal society and bring prosperity to all. Andrea writes, "Technology was offering us glimpses of brave new horizons, where science would defeat poverty and heal all ills. Clever men would save humanity, and their modern intelligence would make our ignorance laughable. From now on, there would be no more wars. The only concern for this new century would be to bring prosperity to the world. They'd scarcely believe how much stupid cruelty we were once guilty of. But then again, all that would be left behind us with these confused ideas in their heads." Our parents here in La Calahorra happily drifted off to sleep on that and on many nights as the old 19th century turned out its final illusions. I love this passage because it highlights how people's hopes and illusions about progress carried over into the 20th century, often without question. Andrea captures both the optimism and the fragility of that mindset. Another thing I appreciate is how Andrea doesn't just write about the actions of his characters. He allows us into their minds. We see how time, conflict, and personal experiences shape them. That level of psychological depth is not easy to achieve, and it is rare in books set in this era. Now, let me give you a synopsis of No Shade in South Dakota. The story takes place at the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries in the Great Plains of America, far from the growing cities. It is a harsh and unforgiving land, but also a place full of possibility. The central setting is La Calahorra, a small frontier settlement. Here we meet characters such as Sheriff Colquitt, Pastor Mayer, Woodrow the druggist, Teddy the rancher, and children like P, Coy, and Scarlet. These people live isolated lives marked by farming, survival, friendship, and dreams of a better future. The narrator is a young orphan adopted by a couple in La Calahorra. Through his eyes, we see what life was like on the frontier, the struggles with Native Americans, the hardships of farming, encounters with outlaws, and even the spectacle of millions of buffalo sweeping across the prairie. Along the way, secrets are revealed, including a hidden truth about the sheriff himself. As the narrator grows older, he leaves La Calahorra for the cities on the east and west coasts. There he works as a reporter and later as a writer, mixing with literary giants like Jack London and Mark Twain. But even with this success, he carries with him the lessons and memories of the prairie. He learns that progress and modernity often come at a price, and that sometimes people must look back to the frontier for a sense of freedom and identity. The story is not only about characters and events, but also about place and atmosphere. Andrea B. Nardi brings the prairie to life as both a beautiful and merciless force. The wide skies, the endless grasslands, and the constant struggle for survival shape every page of this novel. Andrea himself has a unique background that influenced this book. Born of Italian parents on a ranch in North Africa in 1963, he grew up in a setting that gave him a deep respect for rural life. As a professional journalist and writer, he has published essays, short stories, graphic novels, and more. With No Shade in South Dakota, now translated into English for American readers, he combines his personal heritage with a passion for history. His author's statement makes it clear that much of the story is rooted in truth, passed down through diaries and records from the time, while other elements are reconstructed or imagined. This blend of history and fiction creates a world that feels authentic and alive. For me, reading this book was a thought-provoking experience. It made me reflect on how much society has changed, how dependent we are on technology, and how different our challenges are compared to those faced by people of the Great Plains. Yet at the same time, the emotions, struggles, and dreams of Andrea's characters feel timeless. I highly recommend No Shade in South Dakota to anyone who enjoys historical fiction, Western settings, or stories that explore the human spirit in difficult circumstances. It is a book that transports you to another time and place while also giving you space to think about where we are today. If you would like to read No Shade in South Dakota by Andrea B. Nardi, I encourage you to check the link in the description of this video to purchase a copy. Thank you for joining me in this review. I hope you enjoy the book as much as I did.